Sadly, one of the ultimate consequences of addiction is death. In our county alone, we had 60 fatal overdoses in 2021. Here to discuss the impact as a funeral director who has witnessed his share of pain and suffering by family and friends is Jim Covey from Burrier Queen Funeral Home and Crematory. Jim.
Yes, Tim.
So I really appreciate you coming out, and I know the kind of work you do, and I've known you for years. So I know you work crazy hours, and as we were talking about before we even sat down, that you were out early this morning.
Yes.
So what I wanted to ask you, as a funeral director, what is your day to day? What does a day look like for Jim?
A day that a funeral director does every day starts the day off early, 8 a.m. or so, and gets ready for probably a funeral. Mainly every day we have a funeral service, either at the funeral home or church. And then we get ready for a viewing, maybe that afternoon or evening. And between that time, we make arrangements with families, either someone who lost a loved one or someone that's going to make arrangements in advance. So there's a lot of arrangement time that we deal during the day, getting a body prepared for viewing. Lots of paperwork. People think that a funeral director just takes a funeral out and go to the cemetery and that's it. But there's a lot of behind the scenes that we help the families with. Veterans, paperwork, Social Security, insurance claims. So there's a lot of paperwork that we do during the day. Every day's different.
So how long have you been a funeral director?
So I started when I was 14, 15 years old, so I've been doing it 41 years. Been licensed since 1989. We work, like you say, crazy hours. It's not a 9-to-5 job. We're on call in the evening, at night. And we'll give you it's just what we did yesterday. I started off 8 o'clock, had a funeral at 7 o'clock at night. And after that, we went to a civic group Optimist Club meeting. So I didn't get home till after 9 o'clock.
In the community.
In the community.
Yeah.
Being out, we belong to civic groups, church groups, hospice groups, help the health department with families that have, unfortunately, overdoses and things like that. We like to be there before we're really at need. We want to help families before that. We have resources we can help before that time arrives.
Speaking of overdoses, this episode we're talking about consequences, and obviously the ultimate consequence for someone with substance use disorder is death. And you've been in the funeral business for many, many years. What have you noticed over the last 10 years or so with the rise in fentanyl and heroin overdoses in our community as it relates to families and people that you deal with?
Well, it's not just one particular kind of family. It's all families, or it could be a next door neighbor, it could be the lawyer, it could be the accountant, it could be someone in the family always has somebody that could have an overdose, and you never know. It could be someone that had just tried it once. That it can happen right away, or it could be someone that's been over time. We treat everybody the same at our funeral home. When a loved one passes away, which we dread that phone call from the father or the parent or brother or sister calling us, and that their loved one is at the medical examiners. We know probably most likely it's because of an overdose. We don't share that. We don't tell people that, but we want to discuss that with the family. Don't hide that out. We like to discuss and find out. Don't be ashamed. We're here to help. We're going to serve that family just like any other loved one. And it's been on the rise the past couple of years. Maybe we had just half a dozen a year, but now it's a dozen maybe a year or more.
Of ones that are an actual overdose. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is happening though is families think they're not going to have a viewing. They might feel ashamed that this happened to their family member, And we try to say, that don't be ashamed, you know. We have to get it out there, get awareness, and then maybe they don't have the money, you know. As you know, someone that is through addiction, it costs a lot of money for that family, maybe to help through rehabs and insurance, and then they pass away and they don't have money for the funeral. You know, we're going to help them. You know, we're not just going to say that, you know, we'll do cremations because of that, or just, you know, we'll have a viewing, we'll have a service, we'll help that family out, and then hopefully with us sending resources for the family to get help, and don't hide that. You got to make people aware that you know, that it's out there. It happens, and it happens from a 13, 14-year-old to a 50, 60-year-old. It's a wide range. You know, it's just not, you know, the average now probably is in the 20s or early 30s that someone's passing away, but it could be that 13-year-old, it could be that 50-year-old. And we're there to help. Hopefully we're there to help before it happens.
Do you had mentioned resources and different things. Are there places that you, if a family comes in and you know that it's from an overdose, is there different places that you might send someone for grieving or for things like that?
We have, of course, a lot of resources at the funeral home, but we also can, to the Carroll County Health Department, of course, has lots of resources. Yourself, you know, I know I called you many times that, you know, where can I get somebody some help, or that parent, or that lost the love, or someone that needs help before they find the funeral home.
Exactly.
And you've helped many, many families.
One of the things that I know about your funeral home, and actually other funeral homes in the county, is you guys in particular have been very open about helping with community events. I know we used to have reality and choices that we would run through your funeral home. You've been a big help with every 15 minutes program, with bringing out the casket and showing in the school, and also you've told me numerous times about just walking someone through the funeral home just to show them.
To show them. And our funeral home, as most funeral homes and funeral directors out in the county, we'll open. Come see us. Let's talk about it. See what it's about. You know, and hopefully we can help before the final death, before the final. You know, with Choices reality program, we did many times. All the funeral homes did. We all got together to support
That's one of the. I wish that program was still around, and hopefully when COVID lightens up, you know, we'll be able to get back. Well, Jim, I really appreciate you coming out. I know you work a lot of hours, and I really value our friendship outside of the work that we do together, and I just really appreciate you coming out and talking to us. Thank you.
Like I said, any funeral home, any funeral director is there to help, and just reach out. It's you know.
Thank you.
And okay.
Death is the ultimate consequence of addiction. Funerals in this decade have changed drastically as a result of fentanyl and other opiates. Our hope is that shows like Real Talk can provide valuable information and help reduce these types of deaths in the decades to come.